When my work is finished, I'm coming back for you.
Hello, my little chickadees. You thought the Fluffenhammer would be a one-time affair. You were mistaken, for I have returned, and with me I have brought two more tortured souls, nailed to the plank of iniquity. In other words, hi everybody, it's Adam, and I am here to say hello and welcome to the Fluffenhammer. And with me today, as always, is my cohort in chaos. It's Mr. George. Hello, Mr. George.
Hello, sir. You know, actually, I don't think I could do a proper greeting now because I was just entranced by the voice you were doing there. I mean, we were talking before this went on air, ladies and gentlemen. We were talking about the influence of Slanesh upon this show, which seems to be quite profound. It has to be said, as any of you who were listening last time will know. And that was a very, very, very Slaneshi voice, I have to say, Adam.
Oh, you enjoy the sounds of
I
the
was rather
Slaneshi.
enjoying that, I was, yes.
Marvellous. Let me tell you all about the Jade Throne.
Oh dear, no, oh man. Again, we're going to have to slap a certificate on this if we carry on.
Yeah. Hashtag tits and tentacles. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, hello ladies and gentlemen, how are you? I hope you're all sitting relatively comfortably for this font of wisdom beyond the profundity of any elder shrine or accursed chaos temple. Whispers from the warp, that's what we are. Whispers from the warp.
Damn it, that's a better name than the Fluffenhammer.
Oh, well, you know, I like the Fluffenhammer. Whispers from the Warp is fine, but it's a little sort of faux profound. What I like about the Fluffenhammer is you can do what you just did, which is where you build it up as something profound and epic and, you know, with genuine gravitas, and then you say the word Fluffenhammer.
Yep.
And what you get is visions of Timmy Mallet. You know, you get visions of something pink and fluffy and that probably couldn't even bruise a snotling.
I am liking the idea that Timmy Mallet may actually be the fifth Chaos God. All fall to Malletus.
Yeah, it would have to be like Marley or something, wouldn't it? You'd have to be like MAH, LETH or something like that. Lots of unnecessary commas and breaks in the word, you know?
Welcome, my mortal friends, for now it is time to play in the arena of Mallet. It is the time for Mallet.
What would he be the chaos god of, anyway? I suppose he'd be the chaos god of
banality.
Banality! Oh,
He's the chaos god of banality.
Oh, God, that's a horrible thought, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's actually more horrific than any of the other aspects that the actual chaos gods exhibit.
I actually really like this as an idea.
But
we're not alone, George.
No, we're not. There's definitely something haunting the tides of the warp out here.
Oh, we have reached into the past. We have taken our mighty gauntleted hands and reached into the warp to bring forth a voice that has been lost for millennia. And that voice is Paul Logan Blaze, Sugar Bear, Anderson.
Hello, kiddies. Yes, it is me. Once again to terrorize your ears, and I am the plank that's going to get nailed quite heavily tonight.
Again, Slaneshi, again, you can't say a thing. We cannot say a thing anymore on this podcast whatsoever without it becoming hideous, without it becoming a double entendre, I'm afraid. That's it.
It's part of the character we are Slanesh in every way, shape and form.
Absolutely. Actually, it's like I said last time, really, to be honest, guys. It's got me on it, so it is going to have a certain Slaneshi aspect or resonance to it, so can't be helped.
I do like the idea of having a Slaneshi resonance. So it's in every word that you speak, there is the sound of the third triple entendre.
It's actually a timbre of voice that brings about certain pleasures, that titillates the nerve endings, that kind of thing.
Does that mean Benny Hill is an avatar of Slaanesh?
Oh, God. Well, actually, you know what? Considering how Slaanesh was sort of portrayed in the 1980s, it ain't that far off.
No, it's not really, is it?
It's certainly not. It's at least as ridiculous as the Noise Marines with mohawks and guitars and sort of tiger stripes and whatnot.
I'll have you know, I have nothing but love for those.
So do I. I adore them. It doesn't stop them being utterly, utterly, utterly ridiculous, though.
No, that's always a thing. I have a love of ridiculous 80s GW. Some of the stuff that was, it's just beautiful for just how stupid they went with some of these things.
The absurdity, yeah.
Games Workshop in the 80s was what the rest of everybody else became in the 90s. It was neon before it was neon.
Yeah, I mean, what I love about that era is how naive it all is, because it's getting big back then. It's just starting to really take off at that point, but it's still very much niche, you know? It's a very niche hobby. So they don't mind playing around a bit. They don't mind having a little bit of a laugh with things and introducing ridiculous and absurd elements, and they do. They do.
Which actually reminds me, I need to put out a small public apology. I got a Inquisitor's name wrong last time.
It wouldn't be the really absurd one, would it?
Yes, I got the name wrong. I called him Inquisitor Sherlock Watson. This was incorrect. I was trying to remember. It's Sherlock Obi-Wan. Inquisitor Sherlock Obi-Wan Clouseau.
That's even worse.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot worse than what you called him. That's fantastic. I love it.
So my apologies for getting that wrong. It was one of those things of trying to remember something very quickly for a punchline.
Yeah, they should have added in a Marple, shouldn't they?
Oh, I would love to see Inquisitor Marple.
Inquisitor Marple would be great. I would collect an entire army based around Inquisitor Marple. I just love the idea of an Inquisitor that's like this old, doddery old woman, you know? A bit like... In fact, you could go for that, couldn't you? You could go for, like, the sort of 1970s, 1980s TV detectives like Angela Lansbury from Murder, She Wrote. She could be another one. That would be ace.
You'd have a mission called Murder on the Orient Stormhawk.
Oh, God, no. This could be fantastic. This could be a whole other thing. This could be a whole project.
Why do I get the feeling that there's an audio play having to be written at some point with this?
Oh, God, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? If only we could get the rights to the Murder, She Wrote theme tune. That would make me very
I'm fairly
happy.
sure that somebody out there has done an orchestral version of the Murder, She Wrote theme tune that we can talk to, you know?
No, you want a heavy metal version of it.
Yeah, it's got to be. It has to be a heavy metal version, doesn't it? It's got to be that proper 1980s sort of really hideously overproduced synthy metal, you know? Brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh man, you see, you've got the brain going here. There's loads coming up. And can you imagine Inquisitor Poirot?
I could actually see. I could see
just David Suchet's face.
Yes. Yeah, a David Suchet Inquisitor, an Angela Lansbury Inquisitor, a Miss Marple Inquisitor. Yeah.
Columbo.
Oh man, that's just fabulous.
I was just thinking, can you imagine Peter Falk's face in Terminator armor?
Just one thing, just one more thing. Here's a Stormbolter in your house.
Anyway,
just one more thing, heretic.
Anyway, what were we going to do with this podcast again? Because I actually can't remember now.
Oh no, we're not doing anything other than this now.
We're just going to do this now. Yeah. For the rest of forget the Fluffenhammer, everyone. It's dead. It's dead. That's it now. That's the end. I'm afraid.
No, it's just Inquisitor Columbo and Inquisitor Marple going, oh man, oh Inquisitor Ironsides, oh yes,
in a mech suit.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, he'd just be a dreadnought.
Yes, he would. Yeah.
Moving on swiftly.
Anyway, yes, quickly before that consumes us all.
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
So any guest that we have in to sit on the empty throne, we ask a question to.
Yes.
And that question is simply, Mr. Paul.
Yes.
How did you get into the hobby?
Wow. It's a two-stage thing, really, and it's gonna.
Okay.
I as in many things, got into the fluff first. Back in the dim, dark, distant late 80s, there was a local role-playing shop. And I started picking up your old pen and pencil stuff there. That's Dungeons and Dragons, Car Wars, and stuff like that. And then I started seeing metal figures that you put together. And I picked up an Elder Dreadnought and a squat thud gun. And I thought, what are these? What are these? And I started buying White Dwarf and started learning a bit more about the 40k universe. And that's sort of where it stopped. I was still reading White Dwarf quite a lot. I started up a role-playing group at my local school, Nike Boys, and I kept trying to start people interested in 40k. In the end, we only ended up playing a bit of Dungeons and or Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, and that sort. But I couldn't get anybody into 40k. Partly because none of us could actually afford anything. Until very recently, all I ever had was that metal Elder Dreadnought and the squat thud gun. That was it for literally decades. Yet I still
was that the Eldar Dreadnought? Did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a lovely miniature.
It was, and I think also at that time it's metal. Trying to glue it together. So I think that's one thing that put me off. But I was always still interested in fluff. Every now and again I picked up a White Dwarf. I was listening to the audiobook still, and from the Black Library. So I was still keeping up with things and watching things that are going on. But I never actually played edition of 40k ever until the last 18 months, and something has happened, and I don't know what. It was even before the relaunch. I think part of it was I moved to my new house and I started another role-playing group. At that time I was more the Dungeon Master again for Dungeons and Dragons game. But then the person I was playing with, he liked 40k. And he kept saying, oh, do you want to play? So again, and the memories of, oh God, Striff, I know it's expensive. It's expensive.
that doesn't change, I'm afraid.
No,
it doesn't.
I mean, for don't get me wrong, I love the company at the moment, I really do, but the price is a stumbling block.
Yeah.
It's always a stumbling block.
Yeah, but I'll get to that. I don't think it is as much now. But I'll get to that, because there's something happened. One, I have parental units now that want to buy me toys. It's brilliant. It's never happened before. They don't want to buy adults. But my mother-in-law bought me Kill Team.
That's an out of context quote that should be on Facebook, really, shouldn't it? My mother-in-law bought me Kill Team.
I think we have the episode title here.
Right there. Fabulous.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It got me started. It had two great little sets. I just had to buy a little paint kit, and I was starting off. So Christmas, I'm finished doing, and I had something to start playing 40k with. Oh my God! And then that's it. And now I've not really got much else other than the paints, and I just took my time on the figures. But it's like, I think this model, and I think what we might allude to it later on, it's working in a small context now. You don't have to build your huge armies anymore.
Yeah.
You can do your little things. I can spend like £10, £20 every other month if I want to build another figure, to enhance it a little bit here, a little bit there, and still play games and not feel left out. Which I don't think was the case before. Again, excuse me if I'm wrong. Everything else seemed quite epic, if you excuse the pun.
Well, there was a time when, quite recently really, where the whole emphasis of the hobby was bigger. Not just bigger miniatures, but also bigger armies, It was when they started, there was Apocalypse to begin with, which was essentially epic scale in 40k. It's epic scale in 40k, which also introduced formations and that kind of thing, which massively overbalanced the game. And that was then incorporated into the main rule set of 40k, which resulted in 6th and 7th edition. And the entire emphasis was huge armies, to the point whereby certain armies, like my beloved Chaos Space Marines, more or less didn't function below 1,500 points. in order to get a decent Chaos Space Marine army in 6th or 7th ed that wasn't hugely compromised, you had to play 2,000 plus points, which was a big game.
Yeah.
That's a big game.
It's insanity.
Kill teams 200. Yeah, kill teams 200.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And that's a decent game. But, and I think that's the thing. I think I'm being drawn back into that because I'm slightly stepping back a bit. I've never played the 40k proper. Back in 89, I did get Space Hulk, and that was about as much as I sort of actual gaming I did. And I think that's what kept me involved still a little bit, because that was such an awesome game.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Such a good game, isn't it?
You didn't have to worry about 40k rules, but if you wanted to go any further, again, I think that was the kill team of its time. It was the taster drug.
Yeah, very much so.
It's funny because that's exactly what we were speaking about last episode with regards to Hero Quest and Space Crusade and whatnot. It seems to be one of the ways that many people come into the hobby is through the slightly more accessible games, which is why it's such a brilliant move on Games Workshop to bring them back and to bring them back with such gusto.
We talked about Hero Quest, Space Crusade, and then how that led you on to things like Advanced Hero Quest, and then Space Hulk and Tyranid Attack, all that type of thing. So Space Hulk's always going to be one of those ones where it's always been a way in. Unfortunately, the last time they brought back Space Hulk, they priced it so far out of the market that it was never going to be that way. But that was old Games Workshop, not New Games Workshop TM.
New Games Workshop, New Games Workshop, for one thing, has got a sense of humour about itself, which I like. I think is wonderful. It's very self-aware, very self-effacing. And I have utmost faith that if it does, and it will, there will be a new version of Space Hulk. There's absolutely no question about it. I have no doubt it will probably be the best version. It will almost certainly be much simpler to play. It will be more accessible, and it will probably be a reasonably
I agree with that.
But I think they could use the Armageddon setup for that.
Yeah.
Not the that's Armageddon.
Shadow War Armageddon.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, Shadow War. That whole, because again, that's Kill Team turned a little bit more. And I think, that's a perfect little setup there.
Yeah.
And it's also very 8th ed, isn't it? It's almost like it uses the 8th ed rule sets, which is the big shift that's going to come in all the 40k games very soon. When the new editions are released, things like Space Hulk will be slightly rejigged to be more redolent of the...
in the way that Warhammer Quest was to fit in with Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm coming in relatively new, and I'm getting a rule change, which I'm quite happy with, because I'm still kind of getting my head around all the tables of the current one. Roll 3, roll 4. What?
Honestly, I've been playing 7th ed since it came out, and it's a mess. There's no doubt about it. It was problematic when it was introduced. It's always been problematic. There's always been real issues with things like the formations, the way armies are constructed, and so on and so forth. But since then, it has become conflated to the nth degree with extraneous rule books and supplements. And I think we may have discussed this last episode, but speaking personally, if I want to play my Severed Angels Slaneshi Space Marines, but which they're sort of an Emperor's Children schism force, if you like, and I want to play them with my Slaneshi Demons as well, I need so many books. I need the Chaos Space Marine Codex, I need the Chaos Demons Codex, I need the Traitor Legion supplement, I need several of the Gathering Storm books, and so on and so forth. So essentially, just to play a very simple game of, say, 1,500 points, which is fairly standard, was a contusive mess in 7th ed, and remains a contusive mess. However, I'm sure you've all been watching the releases from Warhammer Community that have been daily over the last couple of weeks or so, would have just been tantalizing with little drip feeds of 8th ed. Suggestions of what's coming, both in terms of the rules and the background. And I've got to say, everything I'm seeing is very exciting indeed.
It really is
so
the
exciting.
Entire mindset behind 8th edition, not just from a rule book set, but also the fiction that's going to be coming with it and the change up of the galaxy. It's going to be fascinating.
I mean, I'm a fluff guy.
Yes,
more
completely.
than a crunch guy myself. I mean, I tend to paint and model more than I game, and I definitely consume more of the fiction than I game.
Yeah.
And I really hope that, although they've said they're obviously not going to blow up the 40k universe and start it again.
That was the best question from the FAQ.
Absolutely. Are you going to blow it up? Well, no, but they haven't blown it up as such, but they've definitely ripped it in half.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to see what the new dynamic is. I mean, we've already got suggestions of what's going to happen in the Gathering Storm books, and just from what the Warhammer community have been drip feeding in. But it seems to me that what they're building towards is a much more dynamic universe. One of the problems with fictional universes like the 40k universe is that they can become very monolithic. They can just sit there and nothing changes much, really. And even when it does change, it's quickly retconned, or it's just not that significant. It's a little system or a little planet in a little system that doesn't really matter very much to the wider mythology. Yeah. This looks like they are trying to introduce genuine dynamic changes that will alter the way armies function and operate within the universe, and the species within the universe too.
The way I'm seeing the rule changes, again from this perspective, compared to the little bit I've had of 7th edition, is it's becoming narrative-driven rules. There was a few things when I was doing the kill team where it's like, well, if this character's playing it like this, if this race runs that game like this, shouldn't you do this? Uh-huh. And it feels like that's being more applied in the new rules here. It makes narrative sense rather than mathematical, like, that's part of the rules, finding it in the logs. It makes it run like a role-playing game.
Which is always what it should have been. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a game, so, you kind of want to win, but for that to be the exclusive emphasis and to push out everything else doesn't make any sense to me, and it's never made any sense to me.
To be honest with you, it's the reason why I love Age of Sigmar, because the idea of having narrative games is fascinating. Now that I've played games of the General's Handbook a couple of times, the stories that unfold within a game are brilliant. I mean, one of the ones I had was, just to quickly do an overview of this, was Iron Jaws versus Lizardmen, right?
Or Seraphon.
The Seraphon, sorry. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that name to change again, because I don't think that's going to hold on for somehow.
What, you think they're going to have a new one?
Yeah, I think so.
Why didn't they just call them the Slan?
I don't know. Why don't they just call them the Slan? Because that's what they are.
That's what they are.
They are the bastard frogmen of the universe. And
that's exactly what they are.
And
they're
all your fault, frogmen. All your fault.
Are they deep ones?
No, the deep ones, if deep ones ate nothing but McDonald's for a couple of millennia.
Yeah, essentially. The current Slan, they're kind of the descendants of the creators of all life in the 40k universe and what was the Warhammer world, but which is now a giant flaming ball of chaos-infested rock.
I came across them when I was more onto Necrons, because one of the armies I was considering doing was a Necron, so I've come across them, but I've never really looked into them that much. They sound interesting.
Oh, the Necrons are really fascinating, actually. They started out very pared down. When they were originally introduced, it was via White Dwarf, and there was hardly anything on them. There was hardly a damn thing about them. They were essentially just Terminators in the 40k universe. That's all they were. But since then, they've become so much more, and they're one of the very few armies that have had a real dynamic shift in terms of their background very, very recently. There was a time when, in their very first codex, which wasn't that long ago, really, the dynamic of the Necrons was you had the Necrons themselves, which are the metal warriors, the sort of Terminator-esque warriors, and they were enslaved to these immense immortal entities called the Catan, who were essentially star gods. However, in the most recent codex, they flipped that on its head, and the Necrons are actually the masters of the Catan in this new book. They used the race that became the Necrons effectively used their incredible technology to enslave gods. I love that. That for me gives the army so much more character. It gives it so much more dynamism. It allows for Necrons to have personality and not just be slaves to the whims of mad gods, you know? Which is we've got that already. I mean, a lot of chaos is that already.
And they're a bugger to fight against.
As I found out.
Oh, they are horrors to fight against.
In the current game, Necrons, it's because the current game emphasizes firepower so much. And assault is pretty much dead in 7th Ed. I mean, it's pointless. Assault is a just if you've got an assault-based army or a close combat-oriented army, it's always going to struggle. It's as simple as that. Whereas armies like the Necrons, like the Eldar, like the Tau, they dominate. They absolutely dominate.
Now you say that. So I go in and I play Tau.
Uh-huh.
We don't hold it against you.
Yeah. There is a reason. I'll probably not go to it now, but I play Tau. I've only won once.
Well, you know.
It's because I probably roll the worst. Apparently I roll ones regularly. I have basically only ever won once one game, and I still love the damn thing. But yeah, I see what you mean. Tau could be good. Not in my hand.
Well, the difference is that playing Tau in Kill Team is a very different thing to playing Tau in 40k.
Oh, in 40k they're a nightmare.
Because in 40k you're just getting laser upon laser upon laser upon laser upon laser upon laser upon laser. Whilst in Kill Team it's a much smaller amount.
Honestly.
So, yeah.
They have a thing in 40k called marker lights. And they are one of the most broken things that Games Workshop have ever introduced into any army ever.
And you can't use them in Kill Team. Not effectively.
They're ridiculous. You can't get across the battlefield. Not if you've got like a foot slugging army or even a reasonably mobile armoured force. It's almost against a good Tau player. It's very difficult. And it's not that much fun. It has to be said.
Actually, there is something I was going to bring up, which was Paul, George. Yes. Both of you have said there that outside of Kill Team, it's actually very expensive to get into the 40k hobby. Well, to get into any Games Workshop game.
Yeah,
I disagree. I think the starting point now is actually much lower than it used to be with those battalion boxes and whatnot.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt of that.
Yeah,
they start collecting boxes.
Yeah. So for 50 quid, you get 100 quid's worth of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and it's going to get cheaper as well, simply because of the way the games operate.
Yep.
It looks like in AOS, in the new edition of 40k, you are going to be able to play games with a squad or two, or with like a handful of characters. And it also looks like, because of the way armies are structured now, if you want an army full of characters, where you pay loads of attention to converting and painting these minute and highly characterized miniatures, you can do that. And not only can you do it, it'll work.
Yes.
It'll work.
Those characters can no longer be attached to a unit.
Fine.
The joy.
What I do like, I must say, I am enjoying basking in the furor of the forums. I love it. The salty tears of the fanboys. I do enjoy that a great deal, I must say.
What I'm enjoying more is Games Workshop's responses to those.
Yes.
Which
are highly humorous and not a little deprecating.
Yeah, I can't remember what the exact question was, but it was something like, so no longer will a tank be able to fire at Gilliman, who's standing behind some Imperial guards, because he's not twice the size of them, and whatnot. And the Games Workshop's response was something like, well, if you're throwing Gilliman behind Imperial Guardsmen, you're playing it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? You're going to have to surge forward with your characters now. They're going to have to lead from the front, which is great.
Yeah.
It's great. That's what they should do. And they are they've been saying as well, which I'm sure is true because it's certainly true in Age of Sigmar, is they are going to be more synchronous with their armies. There's going to be synergy where they have rules that buff and rules that enhance your army.
Yeah.
Which is what we've wanted forever.
Yeah,
it's what we've wanted forever.
It's letting the story push it. Right?
Yeah.
The story of your team, of your army, drives the rules rather than here's the rules. I've got to try and get something to fit in the rules.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Completely. Yeah, it's the difference between creating an army where you take heroes because they'll change the tide of the battle, and taking heroes because they're going to bring character to the battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that seems to also be true of all units now.
Yeah, completely.
It looks like you are not going to get your useless unit now, which pretty much every army has at present. There's at least one unit in every army that people just don't take because they just don't have any role. They don't have any place. Off the top of my head, mutilators.
Yes.
In a Chaos Space Marine army. No place whatsoever. They literally have no role to perform, so nobody takes them.
Mm-hmm. But now, with the way that things have been changed around, I mean, for God's sakes, the new version of 40k, they've made the Aspect Warriors worth taking again.
Yes.
God, we're going to see armies with Aspect Warriors again.
Oh, striking scorpions. We're going to see scorpions and banshees again.
Yeah.
I remember Banshees.
The Howling Banshees. They've gone through so many iterations, those guys. Loads of different types of miniatures. My favourites were the ones from shortly after the release of Third Ed, when they went slightly more Harlequin-esque.
Yeah.
They had the high, tall helmets. I loved those.
With all the hair coming out the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved them.
Totally.
When I got that Elder Dreadnought, that's all I was doing, was like with the Banshees and also the Scorpions with the things in their mouths.
Yeah, the mandibles.
The Mandiblasters. Yeah. Oh, have you seen the rules for the Mandiblasters?
I haven't.
Or rather, the suggestions of what the rules do. The Mandiblasters allow striking Scorpions to deal mortal wounds before they charge into close combat.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Fabulous.
I like that a lot.
Unit is going to be brilliant.
Yeah.
But you just remind me, I missed a tangent here again, sorry, about new...
It's what this podcast is, I don't worry about it at all. That's when it's most interesting.
One of the things we keep saying about, I keep saying about that as well, about the story driving the rules now. And a little bit I just loved in regard, you mentioned how it's all shooty and Assault was now. One thing about it, I was playing Assault now, once you get in it, you can't break away, nobody can fire in, and I thought, that's not really very realistic. It's not going to work like that. The whole new way of Assault where you can break off if you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly how it would happen.
Yeah, and it adds this wonderful layer of tactics as well, because you're going to have to think about how you do it and why you do it, because the unit that breaks away is going to be really vulnerable for a turn. So if they're unsupported, then you've probably made an error. But you can lay traps with it. I mean, Chaos armies are going to be great now because we've got cultists, which they are tailor-made for that.
Yeah.
They are tailor-made to be shot to death. So you can use them to lay very cunning, very subtle, naughty little traps.
And I think that's the type of thing that about 8 that's going to really be the interesting part, where... It's going to be trying to find the balances in the game. And unlike the current version, unlike 7th, where there is one balance for every army, and you see the same 5 armies appearing time and time again.
Please, no more Space Marine Decurions. Yeah. Please, God. No more Tau Riptides. Thank you very much.
When's the last time you saw an Orc army being brought? But the idea is that at some point there's going to be all the Orc clans. In the same way that there's all the different Space Marine legions.
Yep.
Oh God, the bats.
I can't wait.
I can't
wait.
Bad Moons.
Death Skulls, yep, can't wait.
Oh no.
Cannot wait.
No, you see, for me, it's Bad Moons. It always has to be Bad Moons. Because they've got more teeth.
The yellow ones. Yeah, they've got more teeth and they're yellow.
Yep.
They're yellow.
Yep. It's fantastic.
Yellow, yellow.
Brilliant. I mean, I can't wait. I sincerely hope when they do the orcs again, they do what they do with them in Age of Sigmar, where they're all really colourful again.
Yeah.
And they look like second ed armies.
Yeah, they do, and it's fantastic.
They look for all the world like the old White Dwarf battles, when they used to do the battle reports and you get the big shots of the armies.
Mm.
And if you got an orc army, you had to wear sunglasses to look at it. It was just
Oh my
blinding.
God. You're doomed, Adam. You're doomed.
Oh no, if the orcs went back to how they were at the end of second, beginning of third, then I'm going to be just over the moon, because you'll just see nothing but this clash of contrasting bright colours left, right and centre,
which I love.
Oh yeah, the Goths are driving in on all their crazy vehicles while the Bad Moons are off to one side, and you've got the weird boys and the shock attack guns firing snotlings into the
that's
trousers of the Terminators.
Yes, the weird weapons.
Oh,
Bring back
please.
the utterly weird, wacky weapons. That's what I want. I mean, they did, to their credit, in the last book, they did bring back the shock attack gun.
Yeah,
which is
that's cool.
Quite possibly one of my favourite weapons in all of 40k.
Do you know what the shock attack gun is, Paul?
No.
Right.
The shock attack gun. Just sit down, my brother.
I'm going to sit back and let George take this, I think.
The shock attack gun is an orc weapon, right?
Yes.
And the fun thing about orc weapons is they tend to be unpredictable. There's a tendency for them to be sort of lashed together and to not quite do what they're supposed to do. What the shock attack gun does, it's a big, it looks a bit like a bazooka, but it's got electrical nodes that come off it. And if it were animated, you could imagine it spinning round and making a sort of high-pitched whining sound as energy builds up. It
like
opens,
a Tesla gun.
Kind of, yeah. Ideally, what it's supposed to do is open up a portal in the warp, which goes from the firer to the target, and allows little squigs, which are sort of little bizarre creatures that the orcs carry around with them, to pass through and materialise inside the armour and clothing of the target.
That's kind of cool.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Well,
that's awesome.
How it worked in second was it was snotlings.
Snotlings, that's it, yes.
And because snotlings are easily panicked, I mean, there was an entire page and a half dedicated to how they trained the snotlings, and I love this. So what they would do is they would make the snotlings jump into holes, and when they came out the hole, they would be fed food, right? So
like a ratter.
Yeah. So these snotlings would be really happy to jump into holes. So the shock attack gun firer he'd open up the hole, and the snotlings would be all excited because they jump in and they're going to get food on the other side. When they come out the other side, they've gone through the warp, so they've seen all the horrible things that are in there. They're not getting food, and they are quite possibly in somebody's trousers. They go completely insane and just start biting.
Yeah.
There is a brilliant little story of a Terminator who gets 5 of them stuck in his suit.
It's just brilliant. It is one of the funnest weapons ever introduced into the game. And it's various iterations. I mean, in second ed, it had a ridiculous table.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, utterly. I can't even remember. It wasn't die 6, it was probably die 12 or something ridiculous like that.
I actually think it was something like 3d6.
It probably was something ridiculous like that, and it could do all sorts of ridiculous things. It often went wrong. In fact, almost every orc weapon I can think of often went wrong. Like the Rocket Boys.
Oh, they were fantastic.
Those were so much fun. Orcs with big, big, big rockets strapped to their backs.
Yeah, I remembered. I do remember seeing that.
So much fun.
Shall we move on? Because otherwise we're going to be...
Yes, because this could go on forever.
Oh, yeah, it really could. So...
Sorry.
No.
So, George, you will want to talk a little bit about some of the community stuff that's been happening since we last recorded.
I think we've almost exhausted it, to be perfectly honest.
I was going to say, we have kind of talked a lot about that, but I think it's worth saying, worth having a quick talk about the fact that Games Workshop have been pulling out the FAQs and the answers and these spotlights, which have been very interesting. And we're getting a kind of an idea of the shape and the taste of what the 40k universe is going to be when 8th is released next month, I think it is.
I think it's next month. We're building towards it. And I've no doubt. I mean, they have released more information than I would ever have dreamed. they ever would. Not only in terms of the rules, but also, I mean, we've got data slates. They've actually released some of the data slates. I mean, we saw what the Thousand Suns data slate is.
We did.
And they're amazing.
Oh my god, it's going to be really hard to say no to that.
From what we know of the game, for the first time ever, Thousand Suns are worth taking. They're not only worth taking, they're what they're supposed to be. Yeah. They have immunities against small arms fire, but also against bigger, nastier weapons as well, with their invulnerable save. And their weapons are incredible.
Yeah.
From what we know of the game, they're going to be able to absolutely desolate even heavily armored troops like Terminators.
Yeah.
So wonderful.
Well,
absolutely.
What's the balance on them though? I mean, like this. What's the downside?
The balance is they're slow. They are really slow, and I imagine, like now, they're probably going to be quite expensive points wise.
Oh yeah,
that would be my guess.
But
because they're good, man, they're good.
The Rubicon Marines look absolutely fantastic, and when you tie those new rules together with the models that came out at the beginning of the year.
Well, you know what? I think it's fairly clear that the rules in the Wrath of Magnus were get you by rules.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear that Magnus and the Sorcerers and the Thousand Suns and the Scarab Occult.
Yes.
Now, if the Scarab Occult Terminators have the similar special rules to the Thousand Suns, they are going to be insane.
They're going to be tank killers. They're going to be the things that just wipe out anything that's big.
And they are going to be next to unkillable.
Yeah.
You are going to have to really focus your fire on these guys. Massed firepower to take them down.
That's the thing that I think is going to be really interesting when you consider how the shooting is going to work in the new 40k. Having something like the Scarab Terminators striding forth out of the battlefield, and then you've got, say, Imperial Guard on the other side. You can take them down.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to be those really cinematic moments where you can imagine just like the Commissar shouting and pointing, and then entire ranks of Imperial Guardsmen are just firing to try and stop these things.
Yeah, you can imagine. You can actually see it, can't you? You can see sort of the las blasts just pinging off of the animated armor of the Occult as they slowly drag themselves forward. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's exactly what it should be, to my mind. It's exactly what they always should have been.
Narratively, then, wouldn't it be then also a downside? There'd be a very low morale. As in, it wouldn't take much for... You kill the right person, and that's it.
The Scarab Occult? Oh, no, the Scarab Occult are more or less fearless. Because they are dusty, they're actually not alive. Although, technically killing the Sorcerer that leads them should have some downside.
Yeah, narratively, I say it.
It should sort of downgrade them somehow. Like, maybe sort of like half their movement or something like that.
I know.
Something like that.
So we'd look forward to seeing it.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. I mean, we've only been given the slightest suggestions, really.
Yeah.
We still don't know a great deal. Like, for example, we know that there are Legion rules, which will also apply to the Thousand Suns. We know that there are already race-specific psychic powers, which we know from the faction focus on the Eldar. So I'd imagine there are going to be Zeech psychic powers that are readily available to the aspiring sorcerers of these units, which will just lend flavour and add in that sort of role-playing element.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's all very, very exciting indeed. But in terms of background, it's the dynamism that's exciting me more than anything. It's the fact that the 40k universe is genuinely moving and changing shape.
Yes. This excites me more than I can put together, because 40k has... I'm trying to think of a way of putting this that doesn't sound like it's just me bitching about how things aren't the same as when I was a kid. 40k stagnated massively.
It did,
There's no other way of putting it.
No.
When I came back, I mean, whilst I was out, I always kept a foot in the lake, so to speak, and I always paid attention to the shape and the smell and the taste of both 40k and Warhammer Fantasy
The
Battle.
smell.
Yeah, very much the smell. Unwashed is the smell.
Yep, Nurgle again.
Well, it's better than Slaanesh.
I don't know. I mean,
It smells a
depends
little...
on where your inclinations lie, I suppose.
Smells a little bit funky in here, man.
I think it smells like body cream. Body butter.
Body massage. Oh God, can you imagine that as a demon prince? Just popping up, body massage.
Oh. Well, the thing is, if you were a Slaanesh worshipper, you'd enjoy it.
Oh yeah, yes, these hands made of chainsaws come at you. Body massage.
Oh yeah. You'd absolutely go for that.
But the idea of the story being pushed forward, the universe being pushed forward. What I'm quite interested by is the fact that it's still 40k. Because I honestly thought they were going to push it into the 41st.
Yeah, that wouldn't have surprised me, to be perfectly honest. But I imagine just for branding's sake.
Yeah, you can see why they wouldn't. Very much so. What they'll do is they'll mess around with the timeline a little bit to make it all fit, but that's absolutely fine.
Well, one of the things that they've subtly introduced in
oh yes
that rift, that huge, what have they called it? I can't even remember what they call it, but that's it. The big rip, the big tear across the universe.
We're going to call it from now on Big Rip.
Big Rip, that's what it should be called. Big Rip 40k. They have suggested that there is a sort of time distortion thing going on with it, which I have no doubt they're going to use as a sort of excuse for bringing back some of the characters from the Horus Heresy days and that sort of thing. So Horus, now that would be interesting.
That's not what I actually said, but that would be fantastic.
Abaddon would not be pleased.
No, he would not. God,
he would not. He hates Horus.
Can you imagine if they did that?
That would be very interesting indeed. I mean, Abaddon would do everything in his power to hunt him down and kill him.
Mm-hmm. See,
he has daddy issues.
Power. And in fact, most of the other traitor Primarchs would too.
Yes, they would.
They would not be pleased. The only one I could see siding with him at this point is probably Mortarion.
Yeah.
I
don't see them bringing Horus back somehow.
No, his death is also iconic.
But what I actually said was squats.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Horus. Sorry.
Yeah. But it's also how they're going to get characters like Leman Russ, isn't it? The Leman Russ is going to come barreling out of the warp at some point on the head of some kind of cornate thing that
what about the Khan?
Maybe
the Khan. What did happen? The Khan is one of the very few I don't know an enormous amount about. But what did happen to the Khan at the end of the Heresy?
He took up a load of weapons and just went into the warp as well, didn't he?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So
he just jumped to a gate and never been seen again.
So he could potentially still be around quite easily. But one of the more reliable rumor mongers, a few months back now, actually made a statement concerning Leman Russ, and he said that the miniature for Leman Russ has been finished for a long time, and he's apparently a big wolfen.
Oh,
he's a werewolf Primarch.
I'm fine with that.
No,
me too.
There are no wolves on Fenris.
No, there are not. As we all know.
There's wolves on Fenris.
There's lots of them.
Look. See that? It's a wolf, right? You can stop with your nonsense. It looks like a wolf.
It looks like a wolf.
It smells like a wolf. It's a duck, alright?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a wolf in this universe, though, does it?
No.
See that tree? That's a wolf.
There are no trees on Fenris.
Actually, given the state of Fenris, that's probably true.
I quite like the idea of there being nothing on Fenris.
Yeah, Fenris is just so lethal that nothing can survive there.
So, we getting a cup of tea or something? There is no tea on Fenris.
No, there isn't. What is it they drink? It's like the most lethal, toxic
blood mead or something, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It can essentially kill someone. An unenhanced human, and it's stuff that can actually make a space marine drunk.
Yeah, it goes fast.
If a human got a drop on them, it would essentially dissolve them.
I love the idea of something that gets into the system faster than the anti-poison stuff in a Space Marine can get it out. That's
Yeah. Well, what I really like is the fact that the way a Space Wolf proves how hard he is not that he can withstand his drink, it's how quickly he gets drunk.
Yeah.
Because that demonstrates just how much he's taken into himself.
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So I think that'll do for the community stuff, because we don't want to...
I think so.
yeah.
I think we've done rather well there.
Yeah, because we need to move along a little bit. So...
Absolutely. Before we all start falling asleep.
Yes, well, it's time.
I'll prod you, don't worry.
A big pointy stick.
With some tentacles on the end.
Absolutely, yes. And as once again, we descend.
It's known as the flesh mop.
I sincerely hope they now introduce at some point into the new 40k sort of like a system whereby you can make your own weapons and equipment, and I will make the flesh mop, and I will model a Slaanesh lord that carries the flesh mop.
Anyhow.
Although I dread to think what it could potentially be cleaning up.
It's sanity. It sucks sanity out. It cleans you of your sanity.
Ah, yeah.
Which I'm fairly sure is a Metallica lyric.
See, I was thinking about that scene in Howard the Duck when he's in the mud baths, clearing everything up. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's to the Lord spends his weekends just cleaning up the orgy pit.
Yeah, that is a weird Slaaneshi fetish,
yeah.
Isn't it?
The ho-ho.
I mean, I know that you can find every kind of obsession and fetish and interest in a Slaanesh force, but that is a niche one. Yes,
yeah. So what gets you off? Well, I like to clean up after people. Well, thank you, Albert Fish. All right, okay. Right, so let's move on, because that was a serial killer joke that nobody got. Excellent. So, Paul, as the guest, would you like to go forward with your spotlight?
Right.
Or would you like to go last? It's entirely up to you.
No, I don't mind. Okay. My spotlight is basically on my decision. When I say I'm going to go kill team, there's Tau, and there's Marines in there.
Mm-hmm.
And Tau is going to be my army, but I've been thinking, I might dabble in the Marines, and I was always thinking, what do I want to do? I don't want Ultramarines, I don't want all this lot of stuff. I want to do something a bit different. Nobody does.
I'm with George on this one.
No. And all the other ones, the way they fought didn't really appeal to me. I think I could fight. And I just was digging around, and I did one of those like quizzes. You know, there was one that says like, how do you fight? What's your ideologies?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I did one of those, and it led me to the Salamanders.
Oh, all right, okay.
And my spotlight is on the Primarch of the Salamanders, who, as I learn more and more about Vulcan, I think, my God, I'm destined to play with him. Because he's basically the Highlander in the Vulcan universe. He's a perpetual.
Yeah.
He is.
He likes his weapons. But more than anything, him and all the other salamanders have a deep love of family and the life. They are the proper Marines. They are like going, I'm here to protect everybody else. And they have that honour and like that. And it's thought, my God, and the way that Vulcan, one of the Primarchs, as all the other ones scattered throughout the universe, lands on Nocturne. And this is an awful place. It's an awful... and it's a land of darkness and fire and evilness, but it can... And also constantly raided by Dark Eldar. But... and then people are hiding away, and then Vulcan comes along and basically says, no, sod this. And when everybody else is hiding, he gets out, and he just stands in the middle of a place with two... not even warhammers, because he's just basically becoming a smithy at this point. So he's just got two like smith hammers, and he basically kicks a load of Dark Elders. And since then, everybody else starts like getting into that. And then, of course, old that father comes along and starts out has a whole test with him, under the skies, and it feels all so mythic. They have this whole thing, and they go up a volcano, and they have to get a salamander and then bring it back. So it's a fire drake, isn't it? Sorry.
Yes.
And they bring it back, and he throws out, the Emperor throws away his fire drake to save Vulcan, and it's all quite mythic. And then it's a nice little setup for him, and the whole salamanders themselves, they're the only ones that don't have family. They actually go back to Nocturne and keep up with the family. But Vulcan himself is like, as he gets through the Horus Heresy, he realises he can't die.
Mm-hmm.
Everything regenerates. It was interesting. I think I was reading how each one of the Primarchs has an aspect of the Emperor.
Yeah,
that's right.
And his aspect is a perpetual as well, which makes me wonder all this thing about him being so human. He's the most human of the Primarchs. That's not from the Emperor. That's him, which I like the idea of. But the thing during the Horus Heresy, it's his things being put in. He actually gets driven insane because God, who is it? Conrad Kurz,
it's Nighthaunter.
Yeah. Basically keeps trying to test it. So like, I'm going to find out how much you can take, and he can take everything, and it drives him insane. And so then you have the whole story, which is going into the more recent ones. Enter the Beast, or that whole sort of big with the huge orc, where he's been driven insane, but he gets his sanity back to enough to get involved with this huge battle. And it just always feels so epic, but then so very little is spoken about Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.
But he feels just like he's just one of the most epic people around, and he just looks awesome as well.
Oh, that he does.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the most underrepresented Primarchs up until the Horus Heresy books. There was so little about him beyond that mythic stuff. I remember reading actually the Index Astartes article, the original article that fleshed out the salamanders, and that was always the stuff I loved about the background of the salamanders too. It's the Emperor and Vulcan climbing volcanoes and seeing how much they can endure, and these very, very classically mythic trials that they go through. I really enjoyed that stuff.
But that's say it's a very, very short spotlight, because that's the problem. You can go through most of Vulcan in that 10.
Absolutely, there's very little on him. Although, if you read the Necron Codex, there is a suggestion of where he might be now.
Oh, I did not know this. Please tell me.
There's a Necron who I really like, Trazyn the Infinite, and Trazyn the Infinite is a very odd character. He has a tomb world, which is a giant museum. What he does is he travels the universe and travels throughout time and space, snipping little bits of time out and taking it back to his museum. So you will find in this vast world-spanning theatre bits of the Horus Heresy. You'll find bits of all the most epic battles ever fought in all of the universe. And in one of the throwaway descriptions in the book, it describes a scene in which there is a giant figure amongst green-armoured space marines who is taller than they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It just leaves it open.
Yeah.
The suggestion is that Vulcan is one of Trazyn's exhibits at the moment.
I do love Trazyn.
I like Trazyn too. You know what? He wins the Gathering Storm.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely wins. When he turns up in the Gathering Storm 3, it's hilarious. He's got a real sense of humour.
Yeah.
Considering that he's a big robot. You know, he's got I know that Necrons are not robots. They've got souls in them and whatnot. But he's a big metal guy. He's got a cracking sense of humour. He's really sardonic in a way that only a guy who has been alive for centuries can be.
Yeah.
And knows that he can't die as well.
Yeah.
Except apart from, of course, when the Inari turn up, because they can actually kill him.
Yeah, they can suck the soul right out.
Yeah, absolutely. Inead can kill him.
Yeah.
But by and large, he's effectively immortal. So he doesn't care very much beyond his obsession with stuff. Although, again, in the Gathering Storm, I'm sure I recall reading a little snippet that some of his exhibits failed for whatever reason, and things have escaped from them.
Which is that sounds interesting. But you were saying that is another thing. I think I'm not trying to pull it back, but you were saying that so often when you have immortal characters, they get that decadence. They get that I don't care and stuff like that. Vulcan cares.
Yeah, Vulcan does. Vulcans. It's like you were saying. The salamanders in general are one of the more human Space Marine chapters, even up to the present day. I mean, one of the things that certainly happened, even to the loyalist chapters, is that they have become more mechanical, I suppose. They have become more obsessed with their duty and less human as time has gone on. It's something that Gilman is noticing in The Gathering Storm 3. He definitely notices that his sons have changed quite a bit since he's been asleep.
And that's something that doesn't happen with the salamanders. They like their fire. Let's face it. They like a barbecue.
They do. Yes, they're firebugs, aren't they? Definitely.
Just a little, which I always found quite funny. It's like no. We must treat these people with care and attention, and like napalm. I've kept it short and sweet. The Highlander of the Warhammer 40k universe. Even when you do cut his head off, you just regenerate it.
He just gets another one. Yeah.
To go back to something you said earlier, Paul, which I find quite interesting. Did you say that the salamanders go back to their families?
From my digging around, they're one of the only ones. They have families on Nocturne, and they go back and they have a family life.
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant, isn't it? It's really different because most of the Space Marine chapters have a psycho conditioning thing where they forget it's part of becoming a Space Marine. Definitely for the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, the Space Wolves, they forget ever being human.
Yeah.
And they certainly forget their families. They certainly forget them. Whereas the Salamanders don't. Salamanders still have that human connection.
I really like that.
I do too.
Which is intriguing because of many of them, they look the least human with their skin.
It's funny actually that you mention it. They do. They look kind of monstrous, don't they?
That's charcoal black skin and burning red eyes, isn't it?
Which is actually a very recent addition.
Yes,
to their background.
They didn't always look like that.
No.
Didn't they? Or what did they used to look like then?
No, they used to just look like men.
Yeah.
They just had dark skin. That was it. They looked African or not. They certainly didn't look like,
wraiths.
Blazing monsters. Yeah. Certainly not.
So, thank you very much, Paul. I learned something new.
I did actually. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. That was very, very cool. I think what was so interesting about it is it's such an unusual subject.
Yes, very much so. It's I don't know much about the salamanders, so that's...
No, I don't, to be honest.
I'm going to have to do some research. I like it.
I'd say the more you dig into it, it's more liking. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that they do look like a really cool legion or chapter.
Well, they're visually striking.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are visually striking with all of the scale imagery and the fire imagery. It's very distinct.
Yeah. I'm hoping that some of the other lesser known legions and chapters get a bit of a redo and get their own feel, because there's a few of them that don't. I always forget the name of them, but the ones that worship death, I really want them to be a full.
The Mortificators.
That's the one. I really want them to get a full blown chapter.
Yeah, that'd be great. There is a novel that deals with them, isn't there?
Yes. I was going to say chapter approved. That's not right.
I can't remember.
It's Ultramarines fighting against Tyranids.
Right.
I can't remember. So, George, do you want to go next with yours?
Absolutely. I was sort of humming and hawing about what to do with this one. I was going to talk about the Phoenix Lords at one point. I was going to talk about Craft Worlds. I was going to talk about Bone Singers. There was a whole Eldar thing going on there. But actually, having listened to Paul's, I think I'll go for a Primarch as well. And a Legion, indeed, because I think I'm going to go for the Death Guard today.
Nice.
And their sepulchral Primarch Mortarion. Now, any of you listening out there who know anything about the Death Guard will know they are one of the most visually interesting of all of the legions, traitor or loyalist, inverted commas. Simply because, like many of the Chaos Space Marine legions, they have been so unambiguously corrupted to the point whereby they don't resemble, even many of them don't even resemble Space Marines anymore. They are bloated, infested, diseased, wounded, cadaverous creatures. They are horror. They are disease. They are foulness. They are the walking embodiments, the avatars of Nurgle. And their entire purpose is to spread his blessings to all and sundry, which is what they genuinely regard them as. They are. This is not ironic as such. They actually take pleasure in their conditions. It's part of Nurgle's gift to them. It's part of Nurgle's gift in general. One of the earliest aspects of Nurgle's gift is that he distorts perception, so that things that would have been regarded as disgusting or as horrific or as morbid become beautiful and become desirable. So they actually regard their own wretched conditions, their disease and their pain, as desirable, as wonderful. And they're generous. They are incredibly generous, and they want to spread it across the universe. They want to gift it to others who may not be so blessed, who may not be so fortunate, who may be suffering in the clutches and the delusions of good health. But they did not begin as such. There was a time when they were like many of the other Space Marine legions. They were upright, they were pure, they were decent, they were warriors under the command of their Primarch Mortarion, who has never been... Well, he's never been like many of the others. He's never been quite as involved in the Imperial ideology as the others were. There's always been a point of contention with Mortarion. He's never really liked the Emperor very much, even from when he first met him. Mortarion was, what, like all the Primarchs, was cast out during his gestation. His pod in which he was being gestated was wrenched up by a warp storm and cast across the galaxy. And he ended up on a planet called Barbarous. Now, Barbarous was not the best of places for any child, quite frankly, and certainly not for Mortarion. It was essentially a death world. It was a state of pollution and toxic miasma in which the human residents were condemned to states of poverty and disease in the lands below, and preyed upon by the creatures that lived above the toxic fogs in these vast mansions and manors that were carved into the peaks of the mountains. Now, it's never really explained what these creatures are or were, but it suggested that there is something alien in them, and also something of the warp. It's never quite explained what they are. But one of these creatures finds Mortarion when he's still a child, when he's still developing. And anyone who knows anything about the Primarchs, they develop very quickly. They become adults within like a few years. But he finds Mortarion when he's essentially like an infant, toddling around in this toxic miasma, which should have killed him. If he were any normal child, it would have just slowed the flesh from his bones, and he would have ended up with just a bubbling puddle of nothing. But he's alive. He's diseased and he's tormented, but he's alive. And this alien creature, this warlord, is fascinated by him. Absolutely fascinated, so takes him in. He actually takes Mortarion in as his heir. And it's never really explained what Mortarion experiences during this stewardship while he's raised by this alien warlord. But certain reflections in the Horus Heresy book suggest that he was exposed to the most incredible horrors, and took part in some of the most incredible horrors too. He was actually raised as this alien creature's son. And it's there, apparently, that he learned to distrust sorcery so profoundly. Which is why later on he actually has a certain degree of enmity with Magnus the Red. And it's not until he actually sees the other human beings in the lands below that he realizes what he should have been all along. And he actually joins the humans and he teaches them to fight. He leads them in revolt against the alien creatures. And although he doesn't actually slay them, he makes sure that they stay away. He makes sure that their predations are not quite as bad as they used to be, until the Emperor turns up. The Emperor turns up and tells him who he is, offers him a place, but Mortarion doesn't want it. Mortarion is not interested. He wants to defend his people, and he wants to slay these aliens for himself. And he tries to. He goes up and tries to confront his adopted father, and unfortunately, his adopted father lives on a peak where the toxic gases and the diseases are just too much, even for Mortarion. And he collapses. And just as the warlord is going to smash him down, the Emperor turns up and kills him and saves Mortarion's life. And unfortunately, Mortarion never really quite forgives him for this. It's not something he wanted, it's not something he asked for, and as a result, there's always this enmity between them. And it's that Horus uses. When Horus becomes corrupted and when he starts to lead his rebellion, it's that wedge that Horus plays upon.
That's
and
cool.
the raw fact of the matter is, Mortarion's always liked Horus better than the Emperor anyway. The Emperor, part of the problem with the traitor Primarchs and the Emperor in terms of their relationship is the Emperor is very distant from them. They tend to be the legions that are flung into the worst war zones. You've got the Iron Warriors, who are always condemned to the most crippling siege warfare. The Death Guard, Mortarion and the Death Guard, who are always sent into the most poisonous, toxic, hostile environments imaginable. Because that's what they do. That's what they are. That's what Mortarion teaches them. He teaches them the art of fighting through endurance. So you learn to withstand. That's his whole philosophy. You withstand the torment. You withstand the whatever pain the enemy can throw at you. And you demonstrate that you're stronger than it. You allow the enemy to break themselves upon you. You don't have to take the fight to them then.
You become the rocks in which the waves break.
That's exactly that. Exactly that. You become the anvil. There's actually this whole tactical philosophy between Horus and Mortarion called the Hammer and the Anvil, which is where you have one legion which is incredibly aggressive driving the enemy against another legion which is incredibly defensive. So it would be the Sons of Horus, who are very, very aggressive, driving an enemy against the Death Guard, who are indomitable. They don't move. You can hurl anything at the Death Guard and they will not retreat. They'll not break. They'll keep coming at you. Mortarion's really interesting because he's not that interested in abstruse technology or in elaborate tactics or warfare. His legion was one of the least well-equipped during the Horus Heresy. Right. There were not many bikes. There were not many specialized tanks or titans or anything like that. He relied upon masses of infantry who could operate in the worst environments and under the worst conditions imaginable. And one of the wonderful little bits of world building in the Horus Heresy books is that Mortarion, he constantly has this array of alembics and canisters on his body that feed toxins into his rebreather. So he is constantly poisoning himself to make himself more durable, to demonstrate what he can withstand. It's a survival of the fittest evolution, isn't it? Absolutely. He is totally Darwinian. Mortarion is totally Darwinian. So you can imagine how someone who has built his entire ideology, and the Legion that he loves, he genuinely loves his Legion, by the way. He is one of the Primarchs who has a real familial connection to his sons. He absolutely adores his Legion. He regards them as his children, as his sons. So when they do become becalmed in the warp, in transition to Earth, where they're headed to help Horus and the rebellion, they get lost, essentially. They get lost in the warp, largely due to the influence of one of his chief officers, Typhon. Now, Typhon is one of the original Death Guard. He comes from Barbarous, like Mortarion. And he was one of the villagers who fought alongside Mortarion very early on. Unfortunately for Mortarion and the Legion, he's already tainted. He's actually got the blood of the warlords of Barbarous in him, and has a connection to the warp. He's everything that Mortarion hates. bizarrely, but he keeps it to himself. He doesn't let anyone else know. And it's Typhon who leads them into the warp and causes them to become becalmed. They become lost there. So they linger. His whole legion, his whole fleet linger in the warp for what seems like centuries from their perspective. And they can't do anything. They can't contact anyone. They can't reach the war on Terra. For all they know, it's over. It's done. And because of their absence, Horus lost. That could very well be the case. But something comes for them. A plague. A disease that can even infect the Death Guard. It's called the Destroyer. And it even infects Mortarion. So you have to imagine what it must be like for an entity that doesn't know what it is to be diseased, that can endure anything, doesn't know what pain is, to suddenly find himself feeling this for the first time, being helpless, being rendered helpless for the first time. It doesn't go into much detail in any of the descriptions, but all it says is none of the Death Guard suffered as much as Mortarion does. And it may have been in a state of fever delusion, it may have been at the very peak of despair, we don't know, but he calls out. He calls out into the warp to save himself and save his legion. And, of course, there's something there that answers. Nurgle. Mm-hmm. Nurgle's waiting, and that is the kind of call, that is music to Nurgle's ears. Entities that strive, that want to live, that are willing to endure anything, any disgrace, just to survive. That is the very core of Nurgle's essence and creed. And he answers. He answers, and he doesn't cure them, of course. In fact, he makes it 1,000 times worse. But he gives them the means of surviving. They still have the Destroyer Plague. They are still infested with all of the cancers and buboes and parasitic insects that the Destroyer Plague brings. But they can endure it now. Not only can they endure it, but they can function with it. And that's how they arrive on Earth. They are not the Death Guard anymore. They're the Plague Marines. They're the very first Plague Marines, and they become an icon of just how far the traitor legions can fall, just how deep they go. And of course, they take part in the fighting on Terra, but they are driven off ultimately when Horus is killed. And Mortarion, again, not much detail, but it's described that Mortarion leads his legion on a merry dance of death across the Imperium towards the Eye of Terror, leaving entire systems diseased and desolate in his wake. And eventually he arrives on the Plague Planet, which is the demon world that Nurgle has prepared for his favorite boy. And Mortarion, he demonstrates what's at his core with the Plague Planet, because he reshapes it. He becomes a demon prince. He becomes the demon primarch of Nurgle, the lord of not only the Death Guard, but Nurgle's demonic legions as well. He becomes the highest demon in Nurgle's pantheon. He reshapes the Plague Planet to resemble Barbarous.
That's
out
cool.
of a sense of sentiment. And now the Death Guard have become what the alien warlords were on Barbarous. They live in their fortresses and in their massive plague ships above the planet, whilst below you have entire tribes of diseased and degenerate cultists. You have creatures that don't even have any name. They are just born to suffer and to languish in disease until the Death Guard come for them and herd them onto their ships for war. And of course the Pestigor, who make up a great deal of the Plague Planet's population. And that's all we really know of Mortarion since then. He's been content to sit on his Plague Planet coordinating the Death Guard, which he sends out into the material universe to spread his plagues and the blessings of Father Nurgle. But it looks very much like he's going to be coming back very, very soon.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I like the idea that is the basis of the Death Guard before they were Death Guard sound like a bit like the Fremen or the Hurakai. They were tested, but they endure, and now they are corrupted. They endure, everything.
Yeah. There's nothing else left for them. They are ultimate despair in many respects because they've lost everything. Everything that they regarded as sacred has been taken away from them. But they carry on. Rather than surrendering and dying, which is not what Nurgle wants. That's not what his creed is about. It's about enduring. He favours souls that, in the very depths of utter disgrace and despair, who were agonised to the point of lunacy, carry on and want to live. They want to live still. And that's what happens to Mortarion. That's what happens to the Death Guard.
And never forget, Nurgle is a giant puppy. He's... especially in the sort of AOS mythology.
He loves his children.
Oh yeah, Nurgle
he loves his children.
Nurgle is the chaos power that is the most friendly, the most amenable. Whilst Khorne wants to kill everything, Zench wants to manipulate everything.
And Slaanesh wants to do something else to everything.
yeah, usually with all of his fists, all 12 of them. Whilst Nurgle is just, come to Pappy Nurgle and give him a hug.
That's exactly what he is.
And I love that about Nurgle, the fact that he's, the Nurglings are just these happy little puppies that run around, and Grandpappy Nurgle just wants you all to sit around the fire and spend some time with him. I mean, the entire story of... Oh, yeah. I love the entire idea that he quite likes the idea of taking a bride. He just doesn't do it very well. Yeah.
Yes, he does. There's even little details. If you read, it's not in any of the Games Workshop books, but if you read the Fantasy Flight Black Crusade RPG supplements, there's a great description of Nurgle's manse in the Book of Plagues, the Nurgle supplement, where it talks about Nurgle sitting in a vast rocking chair on the porch of his manse, watching the plague bearers and the great unclean ones going about their own little plots in his garden, tending to the diseased souls there, and just loving it, singing songs to them and inviting them in to partake of whatever foul brew that he's created. It's brilliant. I love that aspect of Nurgle.
Once again,
I love it.
Nurgle's garden's brilliant.
It's absolutely stunning. Yeah, it really is. And it's not sort of ironic. It's not something that he's playing at. He actually does feel this. Nurgle genuinely loves his worshippers. He's the only Chaos God that does.
Yes.
That genuinely loves his worshippers and actually feels anger and sorrow when they're killed or when they are denied. Or when you get their enemies who can't see that all they're trying to do is show them the truth. All they're trying to do is open their eyes and give them a great gift.
Yeah.
That's all the followers of Nurgle want to do.
Yeah. I love it. I love Nurgle to bits. He's just... for an army of Nurglings.
Well, I mean, there's some of the new Nurgle miniatures that are coming out very soon look gorgeous.
They do, and
if you can paint.
I don't need to see them. I still don't have the Caradron Overlords, and that this hurts me every day that I don't have them. Right,
man.
Moving on, and it's going to be 3 for 3 for 40k this week, because
fabulous!
I'm going to go for the most important person in the 40k universe you've never heard of. I'm going to talk about Inquisitor Jacques Draco, my second favourite.
Idea.
I know.
That's ringing bells.
He is my second favourite Inquisitor. The first one, of course, being Cryptman, because Cryptman is fantastic and punches Tyranids in the face.
Absolutely, yes.
Which is wonderful. Jacques Draco doesn't exist.
What?
Yeah. Jacques Draco there are no records to any Inquisitor Jacques Draco. Imperial scholars have speculated that the man named Jacques Draco never existed, and his reputed actions never occurred. That these are in fact a charade that were part of an elaborate, complicated hoax by either the Eldar or the forces of chaos, in order to influence and destabilize the Imperium of mankind by casting doubts upon such things as the Inquisition, as well as faith in the Emperor himself. Any information that is around a Jacques Draco, and anybody who talks about it, is going to be labelled a fraud. They will be arrested for hostile disinformation, and they will be purged. The Eldar don't believe that Draco existed because it seems to be a myth, an allegory, because Jacques Draco has done many interesting things. In the case of the Eldar, Jacques Draco walked into the Black Library.
I was going to say, I seem to remember him penetrating the Black Library at some point.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Jacques Draco decided that a really good thing to do would be to wander into the webway. It was him and his assassin, Melinda, and his little squat Grim. They just decided to wander into there and just go doopy-doopy-doo, and they found their way. Now, they did this because there was a plot between Renegade Eldar and some humans who were getting a little bit chaotic. And they were trying to create something called the New Men, which was going to be a new race of psychically linked humans.
Oh.
And these psychically linked humans, as they lived and lived and experienced and endured, they would have spawned a fifth Chaos God, who would have guaranteed the victory of Chaos over the Imperium of Man.
Oh.
Yeah, not so good. So, what does the Inquisitor, known as Jacques Draco, do? How does he, this man who is attached to the Ordo Hydra, sort himself out? What does him and his little bodyguards do? They spend 3 years infiltrating the Golden Throne.
Right.
Oh yeah, this is brilliant. They start at the very outwards of the Imperial Palace, and it takes them 3 years to sneak their way through by taking different people's appearances, taking their jobs, basically murdering people and stealing their clothes. One of my favourite parts is they spent 6 months trying to get into somewhere, and they lie by saying that he's an Inquisitor and he's trying to get to see the Emperor, and then realise that that's actually the truth. Because it's taken that long and they are that good at lying. The highlight of this entire thing is Jacques actually stands in front of the Emperor on the Golden Throne and actually has to have a conversation with all of the different multifaceted parts of his psyche.
Awesome.
Which is the first time that I've realised how difficult it must be to talk to the Emperor.
Yeah, it must require some concentration.
Well, there's points where the Emperor's just having an argument with himself of does he know about if the Newman existed or not.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff.
I love it.
But Jacques is not alone, because Jacques he has 2 people with him on a regular basis. Grim is a squat who actually appeared in a story called Devil Marauders? I think it was, where he just turns up and wanders around on his trike and shoots things with a big gun.
As he does a squat.
Because he's a squat, and squats are awesome. He is one of the few that survived the Tyranid invasion. Now, the interesting fact about this is that this was all written originally in the mid to late 80s, and then was reworked in the mid-90s to fit into 40k as it existed then.
Yes, because there have been lots of changes by then.
Yeah, so, which is interesting because Deathwing also had the same thing happen to them, and Grim the Squat in that got turned into a tech priest. You sons of... So close. You also had Melindy. Melindy is a Kalados assassin who used polymorphine. She only unfortunately had 2 modes. She had human and gene stealer hybrid.
Oh.
Right.
Okie dokie.
Because
that's not going to be very good to hide.
Well, no, she was chosen for this.
I can see that becoming conspicuous.
Yeah. She was given this because she was the best of the temple. And so the Lord of the Temple said, "We've got this for you. Do you want to do it?" And she was like, "No, not really." But of course, it's a Kalados temple, so she has to say yes.
Yeah, you don't really have much of a choice, do you?
Not particularly, which is a massive shame. So part of the story is getting her removed from the Gene Stealer hybrid form so she can take her... because she was very good at taking on the aspect of an Eldar or something like that. So it was trying to get that. That's how they got into the Black Library. So these 3, first of all, they wander around Earth for a bit. And they get there and they talk to the Emperor, which is interesting. Draco then decides the best thing to do is we're going to get out into space. We're going to get into the webway. We're going to find the Book of the Rondadandra, and we're going to stop this from happening. Which they kind of do. Along the way, though, they meet something very, very interesting. And it's a human by the name of Vitaly Google, who is, yes, who is a human who is trying to be a Harlequin.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Yeah. So he's trying to take on all the aspects of the Harlequin way. And of course, all the Eldar are just looking at him going, you stupid little monkey, what are you doing?
As though.
Yeah. And there's points where he's like thinking to himself, that, why am I doing this? I'll never be as swift. I'm always too clumsy. I can never be a Harlequin. When in reality, he's an incredibly limber, fast-moving individual. But he's never going to be good enough to be an Eldar.
No, of course not.
So, as an idea, how does Draco die? Well, Draco discovers that a demon of Zench is behind most of all of this. As, of course, it would be when the Eldar are involved.
Because demons of Zisha are behind everything.
Of course.
As we know.
Because they're sneaky.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, he works out there is one way of stopping this from happening. So he allows himself to get possessed by the demon.
Oh, smart move.
Mm-hmm. and then Melinda shot him in the head.
Now that probably was a smart move.
But this all happened in the webway. And what happens in the webway?
Stays in the webway.
Well, what happens to an Eldar that dies in the webway?
You go to the soul crystal thingies.
Oh, your spirit just flies back and forth.
Yeah.
So Draco, after death, is still in the webway.
Oh, now that's interesting. So his spirit is still bouncing around in there.
Yep, he's attached to the River of Souls.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Does that mean he could probably come out as a Wraith Lord or something?
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
He could also be reborn at some point if they decided to do anything with him. I don't think they will, because this is a character who is going to...
I remember the series of books.
Yeah.
Never heard of him. No, this is totally new.
They are really good. It's originally it was Inquisitor, Harlequin, and Chaos Child, but then it got redone in the mid-90s as Draco, Harlequin, and Chaos Child as the Inquisition War. There's also a short story which I haven't read, and something called Atlas Infernal, which I haven't read either, which I'm going to have to look into.
Fabulous. I mean, there are some really cool Inquisitor characters like that. I mean, it's like Chevak.
Yes.
Isn't it? Chevak has been floating around for a long time. Isn't he another one who got into the Black Library, purportedly?
I think he did, yes.
The last we heard of him, Araman got his mitts on him.
Yes, that sounds right, actually. Yeah.
Because that's what Araman wanted. He's always wanted to get into the Black Library. And has managed to get something out of it, hasn't he? We know, I think it's in the Gathering Storm 3, actually, that he has managed to take something from the Black Library. We just don't know what.
The duodecimal system.
It could be that.
It
could be that.
It's actually a D20 system.
Yeah. Well, now that could do what Iron Man was. That could reshape the entire 40k universe, couldn't it?
It really could, yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So I'm going to finish this off with explaining. I've told you all the things he's done, but these things do not explain just how badass Jacques Draco actually is. For example, Jacques Draco walks around in power armor. He's not a space marine.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the genetic enhancements.
Yeah, got the black carapace.
Yeah. But he's still
be quite difficult.
But he still wanders around in what is basically a space marine bit of power armor.
Yeah, that must be heavy.
Oh yes, very much so. He has
and uncomfortable.
I can only imagine it being uncomfortable. He is completely covered in various Jokero built weapons. Because he basically made best friends with the Jokero. And
doesn't he have a copy of the Emperor's Tarot as well?
He does.
Seem to remember that being a thing in the books.
He does. He has a copy of the Emperor's Tarot. He has a bolt pistol known as the Emperor's Mercy, a power axe, and psi cannon, all at the same time. He's got a force rod attached to him. He's got weapons, like little rings, one which is a las pistol, one's a plasma pistol, and the other one's a needle guns.
Oh, that's very cool.
He's got a pocket full of things he calls spy flies, which are tiny, tiny insects with cameras in them, which he just throws into the air and then watches. He's just fantastic, and that's not even beginning all the usual Inquisitor things, the psychically warded clothing, but one of the things I really like about him is before he did any kind of big or rash action, he would pray to the Emperor, sit in meditation, and hope that there wasn't an answer. Because if there was an answer, he's doing the wrong thing.
Oh, God.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
He's also, if memory serves me right, he turned up in Shandabar. Do you know what Shandabar is?
No.
It's a 1,000 sun city.
Oh.
Right? So he's running around in Shandabar, whilst Magnus is running around Shandabar.
Oh.
And he spent the entire time hiding desperately so he can steal the Book of the Randadandra.
Oh my God. Oh.
Which is quite tense.
Yeah, considering that Magnus is like uber psychic sorcerer Primarch and probably knew where he was and what he was doing at all times. Yeah. That's pretty badass.
I've also just realised, I got the name wrong earlier on. Mostly because my memory is not as good as it should be. Vitaly Google was the navigator of his ship, the Tormentum Malorium. Fantastic name.
That's great. That's very, very 40k, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Whilst the guy who was trying to be an Eldar was Zephyro Carnalian.
Look.
That's great too.
Yep.
Love it.
There is also another character that he ran across. Somebody who you'd think would probably try and shoot him quite quickly.
Oh, right.
Eldred Ulfran.
Oh! Yeah.
He ran afoul of Eldrad.
Yes, he did.
Ooh. Yeah, tense.
And how does he die? Lets a demon possess him and gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
That's
Jacques Draco is fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to read him now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the books are fantastic. They are really good. They are sort of the mid-late 80s style of writing for 40k, so they are quite overblown at points. But, but they're so much fun.
It's bombastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's lots of like over-description and whatnot.
Yeah. But Jacques is just great. In fact, so much so I'm going to have to dig out my copies and have a reread of them.
I do think Chaos Child is probably one of the very first 40k books I ever read.
Really?
It was one of the first novels anyway. Yeah, it's certainly one of the first novels I ever read, yeah. And of course I had no idea what was going on because although you don't really need to read the previous books, they do provide some context.
Yeah. Stuff like the Melindy and stuff like that. In fact, I'm actually looking at doing Melindy's original story on my YouTube channel in the next couple of weeks.
On Riveted Sounds,
yeah.
Excellent.
Well, this one will be on Gruff Nexus audio because I don't own the rights to it. But Riveted Sounds is going to be doing something at some point if the rights come through.
Fabulous. That's brilliant.
So, with that all being said then, I think, George, you've got a quiz for us.
I do. I wrote it like 5 minutes before we went on air. And it's tonight's quiz is going to have a bit of an Eldar theme. So if you don't know much about the Eldar, this might be a little bit tricky.
I've lost.
Okie dokie. And I've endeavoured to make them reasonably interesting. So shall we dive right in?
Yes,
go
please.
for it.
Okie dokie, I'll keep it as brief as I can. So, question 1, guys. A tendril of what Tyranid hive fleet decimated the craft world of Eanden?
Is it Behemoth?
Damn it, I can't get my little bell to work.
Oh, there's a bell!
There's a bell? This is the first I know about it.
I just realised I had a bell on my desk. It was Kraken.
You know? It was Kraken, yeah, that's a point.
There we go.
Definitely. Okay, this one's a little bit naughty of me, I must admit, because it sort of involves the Eldar, but isn't really about the Eldar.
Okay.
So a lot of the Eldar gods, they're derived from gods in actually existing mythology, primarily Greek gods, yeah?
Ooh.
So what is the ancient Greek equivalent of Vol, the lame elder smith god?
That's Vulcan, isn't it?
That's the Roman name.
Oh, damn it!
Oh, it begins with a H.
It does begin with a H.
Hephaestus.
Yes, that's the one.
Brilliant. Well done, Paul. So you see, you might, there are a couple you might be able to get.
Phew.
Now,
Oh, this is tense.
yeah, intense, eh? Again, slightly naughty one. All of the Phoenix Lords, the Eldar Phoenix Lords, have their names and then have a title, yeah?
Yeah.
So Baharoth is the Cry of the Wind, for example. Okay?
Yeah.
For the full point, what are the titles of Jane Zar, Karandras, and Fugan?
Oh my god. Jane's Eyes, a Sound of Silence?
Oh, so close.
Storm of Silence.
Yes! One.
I'm not really trying.
Oh god, who are the other ones you said?
Karandras, the striking scorpion Phoenix Lord.
You got Morra, is that how you pronounce it? Dark Reapers, but I've got no idea what his full title is. Oh.
No?
No idea.
Yeah, I think you've got me with this. It's
Okay, Jane Zar is, as you say, the Storm of Silence.
Mm-hmm.
Karandras is the Shadow Hunter.
Yes.
Right.
And Fugan, you'll probably kick yourself, is the Burning Lance.
Of course, yeah.
The Burning
Did-
Lance. Now,
Did Dark Reapers have one?
They did, Morgan Ra. Morgan
Yeah,
Ra, who is... I can't even remember who Morgan Ra was.
Oh, so that's the only one I always remember.
The blah blah. And there was also Azure Men as well, who is the Hand of Azure Yan.
Yeah.
Okay, now this one actually, I know Adam already knows this one.
Okay.
Because he's already answered it during the course of this podcast. So, according to the 5th edition Chaos Demons Codex, where is Aisha, mother goddess of the Eldar, currently held captive?
In Nurgle's garden.
That's exactly.
In a small box.
Yeah,
that's
exactly it.
Which he pours various concoctions into every day in the vain hope that she'll become his bride.
That's exactly it. Now, there is a bonus question.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Okay. What does she whisper into the mortal world as a means of thwarting the Plague Lord?
Oh, dear God.
Domestos.
You know, you're not that far off. I'm kind of tempted to give you that.
Cleanse the unclean. I don't know.
She whispers the cures to the diseases into the mortal world. So Paul wasn't that far off.
Yeah, Paul can have the point.
I'm going to give him that.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to give him that. Okay, number 5. Who was the first Phoenix Lord?
Is Ahara?
Oh, no.
Oh.
The very first one. The one who taught
Azraman.
Yeah, you got. I'll give
Dire
you that.
Avengers.
Yep, you got that. I'll give you that. Azure Men. It was Azure Men.
I can never pronounce bloody Eldar stuff.
Are you going to hate the bonus question on this one?
Oh,
then?
God.
What was his original name?
God. No.
No?
His original name?
Yeah, you'll only know this if you've read one of the novels involving him.
I don't have a clue.
No? The first Eldar to don the name Azure Men was named Liathan.
Okay.
There you are.
Good God.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a naughty one, actually. I just threw that one in because I doubted anyone out there in internet land would know it.
Yeah.
So, there we are. Number 6. The Dark Elder Homunculus Urian Rakarth is associated with a particular homunculi coven. What is it? No?
I can only think of a couple of the coffins.
You probably might know it then, because it's one of the most prominent in the background.
I've never dealt with Dark that much.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
No. Just throw one out there if you can think of one.
I'm struggling to remember the names.
It'll probably be that one. It's the most prominent one.
the only one I can really remember is the Ever Spiral.
Oh no, it's not them.
Was it the Prophets of Flesh?
Yes, that's
okay.
the Prophets of Flesh. That's the one. That's the one that Urian Rakarth is primarily associated with. Now, again, bonus question.
Ouch. Okay, yeah, carry on.
Why is that coven a cause of disturbance amongst its peers?
Because they like to do things to the non-elder. So they like to do Tau as grotesques, or they like to grab orcs and make them into monsters and things.
They do like to do that, but that's not the reason. They practice divination.
Oh, right, okay.
They cast. That's exactly it. They cast auguries in the entrails of their victims, which is powerfully frowned upon in Comora. You don't do that stuff in Comora. All of that nonsense. That's for the craft world, Eldar. The people of Comora don't take to that kind of witchery.
A little bit too much. Oh, you're letting in more chaos there.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly that. Okay, this one's a little bit easier. Kilamesh Archaean is the bloody-handed god, war deity of the Eldar. What is the name of his weapon?
Oh,
Spear. It's a spear.
It can be a spear.
Bugger.
It's a lance, isn't it? It's
It can be a lance, it can be an axe, it can be a sword. It takes lots of forms. But it's got a name.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is... I can only think of the one in Warhammer. It's the Sword of Cain, the Widowmaker. In 40k, it's called the Shining Spear.
Nope.
Oh.
No, I've got nothing.
Spear of Cain.
There was a data slate released recently that gave you its stats in the new 8th and 40k.
Oh God, I'm not going to go look for it. That would just be
Don't
cheating.
Google.
No, that would be cheating.
You'll kick yourself because you do know it.
Is it called Bob?
I wish it were, but it's not, no.
Yeah, all I've got is the Spear of Cain. I can't think of...
It's called the Wailing Doom.
Yes, son of a bitch.
And here's a slightly naughty little bonus. What shape does it take on the original epic model of the Avatar?
The epic model? It's a sword?
The original epic model is a spear.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, well. Okay, this one's quite easy.
That was my first answer, see? When I said it was a spear. Yeah.
What is the name of the psychoreactive substance Craftworld Eldar make their devices and weaponry from?
Wraithbone.
I'll give you... I think you should both have that. I think you both got
dinged.
that relatively at the same time.
Yeah.
And bonus, what are the particular artisans that shape it known as?
Bone singers.
They are. Right, this one's kind of interesting. Dark Elder Scourges, the guys with the wings, are generally employed by the Cabal's cults and covens of Comora as what?
Bodyguards.
Messengers.
Yes, who said messengers?
Me.
There you go. Yeah, messengers. That's exactly what they're employed as. Yes, messengers. And... naughty little bonus, apart from their wings and their talons, they share another anatomical feature in common with the birds of prey they resemble. What is it?
Hollow bones.
Beaks.
Yes! Hollow bones, yes! Now, this was pretty damn close, actually. Much more so than I think you thought it was going to be, Paul.
Yes.
You know what?
I don't know where the hell I pulled that out.
You know what? It's a tie.
Is it?
Yo.
It's a tie. It's a tie.
Right.
Well done, gentlemen. You know what? I've got to think of a tie break. No, I won't bother. Well done. Well done. Some of those were pretty damn esoteric, I have to say, and I deliberately made them so. But well done.
Lots of passes.
So,
yeah.
What we'll do is we'll say that Paul won this.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
God, stop it.
And Paul, you have to pick between me and George who's going to sort the quiz out for the next episode.
Ooh.
Oh. I'm going to have George again.
Okay.
Hey!
George.
Yes, I enjoyed doing that. Okay, and I'll theme it again.
Yep.
I like the themed one.
Yes, themes are always a good one to do.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That
I need to do that because George can be evil.
Absolutely, yes. I have to make them really just the most obscure things.
Yeah, that'll hurt my brain. Yeah. Right. So, with that being said, let's get out of here because it's going to be another long one, I think. So, Paul,
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything you'd
pleasure.
like to shout out about?
Oh my god, no! I don't do anything. What would I like to shout about?
Well, it doesn't have to be something that you do. It's just something
Okay,
that
I'll do.
you'd like people to know about.
I would like people to know about something that you're probably going to pimp, and I want them to definitely go after that riveting sounds. Please do. Other than that, keep on this channel that you're doing. Keep our general keep going on his thing as well. Old Stewie.
Yep.
Teaching us things, and I listen to all your stuff. I say yours. The old oil house's oeuvre.
Yeah.
So keep listening if you're on listen. If you're not listening already, get onto all the other stuff. But no, I don't do anything.
Although, if you want to check out the Fluffenhammer, you can see Paul being beaten by his tiny humans that just keep ruining him in games of 40k.
Yeah. I told you I've only won once.
I do enjoy whenever there's a picture of a tiny human beating you with a big smile on their face.
Oh yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
Again, out of context, could be taken very wrong.
Slanish again.
Yeah. Oh, Slanish does love its midgets. George.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And what would you like to pimp out?
What would I like to pimp? Oh, again, Slanesh. No. I have a project in the works with one Mr. Nick Hardy, fabulous photographer. He and I are currently working on a collection of short stories and photographs exploring themes of mental illness known as Born in Blood. It will be published very, very soon and will be available through Amazon and on the Strange Playgrounds website, www.strangeplaygrounds.com.
Fantastic. I look forward to that.
Should be fun.
As for myself, if you have enjoyed the sound of my voice, please check out, starting off with Gruff Nexus Audio on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Grufflock, where I have been doing a load of 40k fantasy battle, and I'm just about to start a series of Warcraft short stories, which is all, of course, stuff that's either well out of print or it's stuff that was put out for free by the various companies. There is a patron attached to that, and if you get attached to the patron, then you will get an extra story a fortnight. So for $2 a month, you get an extra story, which is going to be around about an hour long. Well, half an hour to an hour, depending on the story. So that's not bad going.
Not at all.
And over on my other project, rivetedsounds.co.uk, we've had Mean Streets being released, which is a audiobook written by Alan Stairs, which is a history of the 2D beat-em-up and fighter. It's a very interesting look at that. And in the next couple of weeks, providing everything goes well, you will have the complete Solomon Kane, which was written by Conan author. And I think it's going to be something you'll enjoy if you've been listening to this, because Solomon Kane is fantastically fantasy weird. So that's going to be coming out soon. Unfortunately, all of my Audible releases I keep getting put back, which is... So when they finally get released, I will announce that out. And if you've enjoyed all of that, and you still want more of me, what the hell's wrong with you? Then check out The Creeks, where me, James and Chris sit around and we discuss the weirder sides of life, the mythologies, the cryptozoologies. We've got quite a lot coming up. We're about to record one on dragons, the history and mythology of dragons. And then after that, much to my joy, we're going to be doing Aliens on Work Experience, which is going to be quite a lot of fun when alien encounters don't go as planned. So, all that being said, that's everything that I'm doing. So thank you very much to Mr. Paul for joining us.
Been a pleasure.
And thank you very much, as always, Mr. George.
My sincerest and absolute most Slaneshi of joys.
The flash mob. And thank you very much to all of you for listening. And we will see you next time on the Fluffenhammer. Good night.
We're not going anyplace scary.
Time for foot slogging, boys! Und the biggest on the board!